Welcome back to ThunderCats episode by episode. Today we're covering episode 8, The Tower of Traps. Premiering on September 18th, 1985, The Tower of Traps has Leonard Starr returning with a new script. The episode opens with the Thunder Kittens exploring the forest using a map until Wily Kitten notices a tower in the distance.
I don't like the looks of it.
Wily Cat tells her to be quiet so he can work on the map as Tigra is expecting it to be accurate. Their bickering is interrupted with a loud roar and someone begging for help. Assuming the sound is a robbery, the Thunder Kittens rush to render aid, chasing off the intruders and commenting on how unusually sturdy they are.
Oh! I almost threw my back at a joint. Those guys must have been made of stone.
The Wolo traveler that was assaulted explains that the creatures are from the Black Tower of Baron Carnor. He details that he was using a shortcut to make it to his daughter's wedding in time. Wily Cat apologizes for not being able to retrieve the Wolo's purse, and the traveler laments that it had the gift for his daughter in it. A wedding gift specifically, a gold bracelet with 2 hearts intertwined. He departs, sad that the gift is lost, but grateful for the rescue. The twins, though, let their curiosity get the best of them, and they go to investigate the tower. Cat tries the front door, but it won't budge. Kit walks away for a little bit, thinking of other entrances, but when she turns back, Cat is gone. She initially thinks it's a trick, but quickly comes to terms with the fact that he disappeared. We then cut to Lion-O going for a swim at a local waterfall, encouraging Snarf to join him. Snarf declines, stating he doesn't really care for it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Snarf isn't annoying, he was there for your parents to relate to. Not you. This is just part of it. Lion-O suddenly starts thrashing in the water, calling Snarf for help due to a cramp. Snarf immediately jumps in and swims to Lion-O to save him, only for Lion-O to reveal it was a trick and dunk Snarf underwater, laughing about it. Snarf chastises him while swimming to shore, obviously upset. Lion-O tries to justify himself, but Snarf walks away, clearly hurt by his emotions being toyed with in such a manner. Lion-O reflects on this.
I didn't mean to scare him. I guess a joke doesn't seem all that funny when the joke's on you.
Suddenly, the sword snaps open and growls, and Lion-O uses sight beyond sight to see Wily Kit desperately calling for her brother. Lion-O rushes to her location and asks her what happened, wanting to know exactly where Wily Cat was when he disappeared. Kit shows him and points to the lock Cat was messing with. Lion-O points at the lock with the sword to confirm it, and it triggers a trap door, dropping both of them below. They start exploring the ruins, calling for Cat. He hears them and responds, telling them that he's at the top of a tower trapped in a cage. Lion-O and Kit promise to find him and start heading up the set of steps. However, each of them has an issue, making it impossible to use them, including turning into a slide and ejecting them. Rightly having enough of that, Lion-O activates the sword and uses it to pole vault to the top. Lion-O asks Kit who owns this deranged place, and Kit tells him about Baron Carnor. At the top of the stairs, they come upon 2 passageways. Before they can strategize, a gate drops down between them, forcing them to each take a passage alone. Lion-O's passage begins with a carpet trap that he cuts through, realizing that the floor below has revealed an octopus monster. The creature tries to eat Lion-O, but he jams its mouth open with an old shield and makes his escape. We then follow Wily Kit, who comes across a narrow bridge, initially thinking it'll be easy to cross, until she's met with rising flames as the bridge is consumed by them, with her barely making it across. Going back to Lion-O, he comes across a corridor with trap doors leading to acid below. He thinks it'll be an easy jump, but barely makes it himself as the floor closes up. This is immediately followed by spikes stabbing down from the ceiling as it falls. Lion-O uses the sword to hold the ceiling up as he escapes, before making it clear that he's had about enough of all of this.
There will be a reckoning when we finally meet, Baron Carnor. I'm looking forward to it.
Back at Kit, she's getting the hang of things and tests the room out before crossing. Satisfied with her strategy, she makes it across the room, only being slightly singed. The next room lacks any subtlety, and Kit makes her own thoughts known before her attempt.
Wily Cat, I wouldn't ask you to do this for me, but you do it without my asking.
She deftly navigates most of the swinging blades, but the second to last one trips her up and the last one comes gliding towards her, only for it to be cut down by Lion-O at the last moment. He asks if she's okay, and they continue forward together, realizing by his voice that Cat is nearby. They enter a large room and find Cat in a cage near the ceiling. Lion-O asks if the Baron put him in there, but Cat says he hasn't seen anyone. Lion-O tells Cat that when the cage hits the ground, to jump, and then he cuts the cord holding it aloft loose. Cat jumps loose, and Kit greets her brother in clearly the kindest way possible.
Wily Cat, I was so... well, you see where your curiosity got you and us?
They want to leave, but Lion-O refuses to until he's had it out with the Baron. I can relate. While a voice beckons them to enter, they all come to the realization that the Baron is actually long dead. surrounded by his treasures. Lion-O recalling a quote from Jaga.
It's wise to save your money and to spend it carefully, but greed can destroy you.
This leads to them trying to figure out who called them into the room if he's dead and how things are still being stolen for him. They found out that the first thing was obviously a recording, but all the speculation ends when the door's shut and they realize they've fallen for the Baron's final trap. The door won't budge, but the ceiling opens to allow a piece of jewelry to fall in. Kit rushes to it and discovers it's the Traveler's wedding gift. They realize that the thieves, and their escape, are on the roof. Lion-O and the twins tie cloth in the room together for a makeshift rope, attaches it to the sword, and throws it to embed into the ceiling. The twins climb up first, with Lion-O making it to the top right as the rope falls apart. On the roof, the only things they see are the gargoyles that suddenly come to life and attack them. Guess they don't work by Disney rules. While they dispose of a couple of them, they're still outnumbered, so Lion-O summons the other ThunderCats using the sword. Panthro heads there in the tank and uses the grappling guns to get the rest of the ThunderCats to the tower's top. They join the fight and make short work of the rest of the gargoyles now that the entire team is assembled. And the other ThunderCats, of course, have to ask what the heck happened.
What was that all about, Lion-O?
What were they?
Tell you, as soon as I catch my breath.
Heading out in the tank, the group talks about how the Baron must have enchanted the gargoyles to steal for him even after he's dead. They pass by the Wollo village and sees the wedding is still going on. Kit joins the party and presents the gift to the bride, noting that it's from her father. With that resolved, Snarf meets up and talks to Lion-O about why he acts the way he does. It's because he loves Lion-O and worries about him, with Lion-O sharing and reciprocating the same sentiment as the episode ends. Show notes by Leonard Starr. Sometimes a villain can be, an aspect of, nature or a construction that Lion-O has to fight. The same rules apply. He has to fight it on its own. It's like dealing with a gorilla. There's no recourse. You can't use your intellect or anything else. You just have to be as clever as you can to avoid it and survive it. It's the same with hurricanes and earthquakes and that kind of thing. It's just another obstacle. The idea was to have as interesting an episode as is possible, and we did whatever we could to achieve that. Children also like to be frightened. We did have frightening elements from time to time, but we had to be very careful, because there was a code in children's programming that you couldn't go too far in those directions. And here's my thoughts. This is a unique episode from the early run of the show. In this episode, ingenuity and quick thinking mattered more than overwhelming force and firepower. Navigating traps and getting egos checked being the main focus in the action. One of the interesting aspects of this episode, though, is that its main players are the Wily twins. Not just because it further highlights that these siblings care very deeply and unapologetically about each other, but also in the fact that this episode takes their own strengths and turns it into a weakness. In the series pitch that the community calls the Lost Intro, this is how they're described.
Wily Cat and Wily Kit, a cunning junior duo.
In the show up to this point, their cunning nature tends to come out in trickery and misdirection. But in the Dark Tower of Baron Karnor, it demonstrates to them that as good as they are, there's always someone better. Not only that, but it shows what happens when those skills aren't put to use in a proper way. Instead of good fun or for proper defense of oneself or others, the tricks and traps in Karnor's tower is made simply to kill anyone that may try to depose him. He's a tyrant and a thief willing to rob anyone of their very lives if they seek restitution or retribution. The trap at the very beginning of this in the front door is very indicative of this, as that's where the first trap is set, giving whomever approaches no chance to even so much as plead a case before being cast into the death traps. It's an important reality check for the twins and a lesson to learn about curiosity and paying attention to your surroundings. The point about harmful versus harmless tricks is also exemplified by Lion-O's action in the earlier parts of the episode, tricking Snarf into thinking he was in danger. Average practical jokes or even jump scares can be fine or even funny for both parties involved. But playing a cruel trick that hinges on someone's love for you in a way that disrespects or downplays it isn't really a good way to go about doing it. People who do that without caring about how someone feels are people that you really shouldn't be around. And to Lion-O's credit, when he recognizes how much he hurt Snarf, he rethinks his actions. As I said in previous episodes, Lion-O may look like an adult, but his mind is still that of a child, so these are important lessons for him to learn. Let's talk about Lion-O for a moment. In the 80s, there was no shortage of strong, stoic, rough hero characters for kids to follow. And while I can't discount the sometimes needed softness characters like Optimus Prime, Duke, or He-Man showed, it's not quite the same as what Lion-O shows. He's not a grizzled war veteran, or someone that's stoic and holds his emotions in at all times. He's very externally empathetic. Innocent people being harmed or wronged is what often leads to him making rash or immature decisions based on acting in the moment. As the series goes on, you'll see Lion-O mature and grow, but you'll never see him letting go of his empathy or closing off his emotions. You'll see him cry, hug, and mourn in ways that were often uncommon for characters at the time. Not that this is a knock to any of those characters, I want to make that clear. This is just a difference that's stated. Him and Snarf reconciling at the end of the episode is a good touch too. Like I said here and in a previous video, Snarf is the stand-in for the audience at the time's parents. And a good parent trying to raise a kid properly knows when to let go of anger and hurt when their kid just made a mistake and wants to be better. Snarf confirming his love for Lion-O, the source of his concern and hurt, does well to highlight Snarf's nature. We also see in this episode Lion-O being more confident in his use of the sword's power and versatility. He's not even stopping to wonder if the sword will do what's needed. He just acts and expects it to. Based on the events of the series, I've had a long-standing theory that the Sword of Omens works primarily off faith. Maybe I'll do a video about it. Maybe I won't. Who knows? I'd also like to note that this episode did something even modern cartoons rarely do. It showed a fully decayed human corpse. This isn't inherently a knock to other cartoons, just again, another difference to note. And to be a bit pedantic, those weren't gargoyles the Baron was using. They were grotesques. Gargoyles are the ones with the water coming out of them. It's always been interesting to me when people write them as villains or evil, considering what their purpose is supposed to be. This is the point where your average cartoon reviewer may take the time now to complain about the twins not recognizing the thieves, or how the octopus monster survived in the tower for so long. But let's be honest here, it's a fantasy action cartoon. That level of cynical gibberish isn't really as smart as people think it is. Yes, you ask questions about a kid's cartoon that isn't fun, that the writers didn't think of because they had a job to do. That doesn't make you smart or clever, it makes you insufferable. I myself might point out some internal consistencies or even continuity errors in the future, but I'm going to strive not to do anything like that with this series. Make sure you hold me to that. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope more that you will join me next time when ThunderCats tackles drug use and addiction in the Garden of Delights. You have any thoughts about this episode or what I've talked about concerning it? Feel free to comment. I'd also like to thank you for joining me. If you want to support the channel, you can join the memberships or the Patreon by following the link in the description. You can also hop into the community Discord and just chat it up there. See you next time, and take care.
Darkwing Duck emerges once again, singed but triumphant.